Hi, my name is Becky and I am excited to be reading to you today. I will be reading It Was Snowing Butterflies by Charles Darwin. Patagonia, December 6, 1833. The Beagle sailed from the Rio Plata, never again to enter its muddy stream. Our course was directed to Port Desire on the coast of Patagonia. Before proceeding any further, I will here put together a few observations made at sea. Several times when the ship has been some miles off the mouth of the Plata, and at other times when off the shores of northern Patagonia, we have been surrounded by insects. One evening, when we were about 10 miles from the Bay of San Blas, vast numbers of butterflies, in bands or flocks of countless myriads, extended as far as the eye could range. Even by the aid of a glass, it was not possible to see a space free from butterflies. The seamen cried out, "It was snowing butterflies," and such in fact was the appearance. More species than one were present, but the main part belonged to a kind very similar to, but not identical with, the common English Callias edusa. Some moths and Hymenoptera accompanied the butterflies, and a fine Calosima flew on board. Other instances are known of this beetle having been caught far out at sea, and this is the more remarkable, as the greater number of the Carabidae seldom or never take wing. The day had been fine and calm, and the one previous to it equally so, with light and variable airs. Hence we cannot suppose that the insects were blown off the land, but we must conclude that they voluntarily took flight. The great bands of the Callias seem at first to afford an instance like those on record of the migrations of the Vanessa cardui, but the presence of other insects makes the case distinct and not so easily intelligible. Before sunset, a strong breeze sprung up from the north, and this must have been the cause of tens of thousands of the butterflies and other insects having perished. On another occasion, when 17 miles off Cape Corrientes, I had a net overboard to catch pelagic animals. Upon drawing it up, to my surprise, I found a considerable number of beetles in it, and although in the open sea, they did not appear much injured by the salt water. I lost some of the specimens, but those which I preserved belonged to the genera, the Calambides, the Hydroporus, the Hydrobius, 2 species, the Nautifus, the Sinicus, Adamonia, and Scarabeus. At first I thought that these insects had been blown from the shore, but upon reflecting that out of the 8 species, 4 were aquatic, and 2 others partly so in their habits, it appeared to me most probable that they were floated into the sea by a small stream which drains a lake near Cape Corrientes. On any supposition, it is an interesting circumstance to find insects quite alive, swimming in the open ocean, 17 miles from the nearest point of land. There are several accounts of insects having been blown off the Patagonian shore. Captain Cook observed it, as did more lately Captain King in the Adventure. The cause probably is due to the want of shelter, both of trees and hills, so that an insect on the wing with an offshore breeze would be very apt to be blown out to sea. The most remarkable instance I ever knew of an insect being caught far from the land was that of a large grasshopper, which flew on board when the Beagle was to windward of the Cape de Verde Islands, and when the nearest point of land, not directly opposed to the trade wind, was Cape Blanco on the coast of Africa, 370 miles distant. On several occasions when the vessel had been within the mouth of the Plata, The rigging has been coated with the web of the gossamer spider. One day, November 1st, 1832, I paid particular attention to the phenomenon. The weather had been fine and clear, and in the morning the air was full of patches of the flocculent web, as on an autumnal day in England. The ship was 60 miles distant from the land, in the direction of a steady though light breeze. Vast numbers of a small spider, about 1/10 of an inch in length, and of a dusky red color, were attached to the webs. There must have been, I should suppose, some thousands on the ship. The little spider, when first coming in contact with the rigging, was always seated on a single thread, and not on the flocculent mass. This latter seems merely to be produced by the entanglement of the single threads. The spiders were all of one species, but of both sexes, together with the young ones. These latter were distinguished by their smaller size and more dusky color. I will not give the description of this spider, but merely state that it does not appear to me to be included in any of the Lathrill's genera. The little aeronaut, as soon as it arrived on the board, was very active, running about, sometimes letting itself fall, and then reascending the same thread, sometimes employing itself in making a small and very irregular mesh in the corners between the ropes. It could run with facility on the surface of water. When disturbed, it lifted up its front legs in the attitude of attention. On its first arrival, it appeared very thirsty, and with exerted maxillae drank eagerly of the fluid. This same circumstance has been observed by Strack. May it not be in the consequence of the little insect, having passed through a dry and rarefied atmosphere? Its stock of web seemed inexhaustible. While watching some that were suspended by a single thread, I several times observed that the slightest breath of air bore them away out of sight in a horizontal line. On another occasion, the 25th, under similar circumstances, I repeatedly observed the same kind of small spider, either when placed or having crawled on some little eminence, elevate its abdomen, send forth a thread, and then sail away in a lateral course, but with rapidity which was quite unaccountable. I thought I could perceive that the spider, before performing the above preparatory steps, connected its legs together with the most delicate threads, but I am not sure whether this observation is correct. One day at St. Fay, I had a better opportunity of observing some similar facts. A spider which was about 3/10 of an inch in length, and which in its general appearance resembled a city grade, therefore quite different from the gossamer, while standing on the summit of a post, darted forth 4 or 5 threads from its spinners. These glittering in the sunshine might be compared to rays of light. They were not, however, straight, but in undulations like a film of silk blown by the wind. They were more than a yard in length, and diverged in an ascending direction from the orifices. The spider then suddenly let go its hold, and was quickly borne out of sight. The day was hot, and apparently quite calm, yet under circumstances the atmosphere can never be so tranquil as not to affect a vein so delicate as the thread of a spider's web. If during a warm day we look either at the shadow of an object cast on a bank, or over a level plain at a distant landmark, the effect of an ascending current of heated air will most always be evident, and this probably would be sufficient to carry with it so light an object as the little spider on its thread.